Yeah, you know what it is. Welcome to the best coast. Yo, it's Bronze Age nerd with that collecting elite. Bigby McFly steady bringing the vintage heat. Pull up a seat, we diving in the stacks. Silver to the bronze, got the knowledge on tap. From Kirby's Kings to the mutants, wow. We breaking it down in that laid-back style. So grab your snacks, let the panels unfold. This is comic book chillin' with the stories we told. Comic book vibes, we flipping them pages. Legends and lore from all the ages. Golden to the modern, we talk that news. With Bigby McFly and the nerd cut loose. Yo, you tune into that Bronze Age flow. Where comics live and legends grow. Bigby McFly in the cut, let's fly. Best Coast, baby, comics are what saved me. Big, yeah. Baby, comics are what saved me.
Hey, you know what time it is. We're back with Best Coast Comics. Welcome to the show. I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Christopher. I go by the Bronze Age Nerd, and I am joined by my faithful co-host,
the one and only Dr. Dre. No? Oh,
I think y'all forgot about Dre.
How come I can't remember that?
Welcome to the show. This is Best Coast Comics. We got Bronze Age Nerd, Bigby McFly holding it down over here on the West Coast. This is your late night comic book show. We're going to talk about some awesome stuff tonight. Before I get into the topics that we're going to go over, I do want to take a second to let you know that we're streaming on multiple channels. All the links for these channels are in the description below. There's me, Bronze Age Nerd. I'm down there. We got Bigby McFly. He's down there holding it down, as well as the EXP, which has a wonderful network of comic book related content like sales shows, original art shows about upcoming comic books, all that stuff down below. So we got some new format, kind of fun stuff that we've introduced, new intro, new little bumpers between clips, that kind of stuff. So happy to have everybody here. Let's take a look at the chat and say hello to everybody. As I'm doing that, I just want to let you guys know the topic tonight is going to be about basically what is high grade. High grade is a really commonly used term in comic book collecting, or low grade or mid grade for that matter. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit. And we had some questions about that actually came from a chat that we have with the Council of X guys. It's a collection of people that, Bigby's part of it. I haven't been on it yet, but I'm kind of an honorary member, I guess. I'm part of the group chat. A lot of people that you know from the community. Check out any of the Council of X guys, like Dan's X-Men Comics, for example. Tons of great guys. Colossus Collector.
Yeah, he's the head guy, Ryan, Colossus Collector.
Yeah, absolutely. So go check them out. We were all talking about in the private chat. We thought this would be a great topic for the show. And of course, we're going to talk about what we've been up to, what we've been picking up, what we've been reading, comic book news, all that fun stuff. But first, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. We got Derek. Derek saying hello on Brian's channel. He is our OG commenter today on Bigby's channel. We love to see it. GT Key Comic coming in, getting that silver medal. Dude, give it up for Rich Stanky, who I have a piece of art for the community art section from later. He always does great art. He's going to catch the show on the replay tomorrow. Man, we appreciate those replay views. If you watch on the replay, and Rich, since you're watching the replay, I'm talking to you right now. Make sure you drop that comment so we know what you thought about the show, or what can we work on? What was awesome? What can we deliver? What kind of topics can we talk about? Love to hear about it.
Yeah.
And then we have the
above high grade. Okay, that's cool.
Hit that like button. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of Optic Blast. That like button. Hulk Smash, Wolverine Snicked, whatever you got to do. So Comic Tropes, by the way, shout out to Comic Tropes. I had to miss his show that he was on earlier on his Comic Tropes After Dark show. I missed it today because I had to take my daughter to a dentist appointment kind of during when his show was playing. So I don't get to see that, but his thumbnail was fire. If you I saw it on Twitter earlier, or X or whatever. And it's him in a Speedo, like an American flag Speedo, with like a crop top and like baller thumbnail. So
wow.
So the opening song, let's see how much everybody hates this. Full disclosure on the opening song. So it's partially created with some generative AI because we wanted a new intro. We wanted some lyrics. Couldn't afford to hire anybody to do it. So we ran it through a couple AI programs, came out with that.
Playing with some toys.
We were playing some toys. Absolutely love the result. And there we go. We're not selling it or doing anything with it like that with it. So we just thought it was fun.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much, Richard. That's very kind of you to say.
Congrats, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Bigby made a post to kind of help push me over the
I didn't do
threshold.
anything. You were going to get there without my help. I just
No, but it was fun that you helped out kind of pushing it over. So, and then we have the screaming lizard is what I like to call that.
It's like Godzilla scream, right? We need a Godzilla sound effect.
Yeah, daddy daughter dentist day, and she did great, by the way. So I was not probably that chill about going to the dentist when I was 6 years old.
Open up and say
Yeah. But yeah, I guess a little extra clarification. So I kind of used a program to kind of get the lyrics out kind of in a rap tempo, and then I wrote the lyrics, and then we had a voice sing it basically. That was the kind of the AI element, because unfortunately our rapping abilities, well, Bigby's an excellent rapper. He just wouldn't do it because of, I guess he's like on Death Row's label or whatever. And he's not allowed.
There's threats against my life if I go recording it.
But we do have a couple more. So throughout the show, if people mention certain things that we talk about a lot on the show, there might be some things that pop up.
We may have made special bumpers for people. Yeah.
Ooh, there we go.
$1 a day can feed a small bronze.
$5,000 a day. That's all you got to do, guys. That's all you got to do. I like where your head's at. Hey, what is up, Lord of Brooklyn? Nice to see you here. So this is the part of the show where we kind of talk about our weeks. We talk about what we have going on, what we've been catching up on, what we've been reading, what we've been collecting, that kind of stuff. I think last week I kind of started off with that, so I'm going to kick it down to Bigby. Bigby, I guess before I even get to that, there's one thing we're going to talk about at the very end of the show, and we'll give you a spoiler warning as I knock over a piece of paper. We are going to talk about Daredevil Born Again season finale, spoilers, all that stuff at the very end of the show, with plenty of warning and a little banner at the bottom, so you know, hey, we're talking about
at the end, though. At the end of the show, you can watch
all
the rest of it if you're in.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if you watched all of Born Again, unless you just don't want to hear us talk about it, which I guess is valid. So we're gonna skip that for because I think we both watched it this week, so we're skipping that.
Oh hell yeah, it was good.
So yeah. So what have you been watching? What have you been reading, etc.?
Boy, I binge watched Black Mirror, the rest of it. Oh my gosh, the new season is so good.
Is it really good?
Oh, it's really good.
I haven't started it yet.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And then the season finale for Daredevil, and then I've been watching a bunch of Big Bang, and then a whole lot of like in the background. I've had a lot of stuff like I used to collect sports cards and stuff. So there's a show I watch now or a little thing on YouTube called Chasing Cardboard, where they go around the country in a van chasing sports cards. So it's kind of fun.
Really?
Yeah, they go around. They move. They're buying like $30,000 and $40,000 worth of cards at a time. So
like collections.
Yeah, like huge collections and stuff. It's pretty fun.
Okay, cool. There was a channel I got into during the pandemic. Not comic book, obviously. Sports card collector, investor, dealer, or whatever. And he's this American guy who used to be like a big time card dealer here, still pretty young. But he moved to like some, like, I don't know about Norway, Finland, Sweden, somewhere up there, Northern Europe. And so he was doing all these videos where he's just like talking about the history, like, and showing pictures and stuff of these collections he picked up. And he would break down like how much he paid for the collection and how much he made back from selling it. Because that he always did his shows like, I'm a collector, investor, and dealer in that order. And so like that's his whole thing. Like he collected for his own collection. And so he talked about the stuff he kept. He talked about the stuff he sold. And I thought it was a really cool format. It reminded me a little bit of like kind of like what a Very Gary would do in the comic book space, but more organized. It was really cool. I would like to see, these guys are pretty transparent about what they do. And so I'd like to see more of that with comics. You don't really see a lot of times what people are paying for collections, like what you're saying, what they're keeping. A lot of people try to keep that really hush hush. So I think it'd be more enjoyable if people had more clarity. Stiltman, that was a hot. Stiltman showed up. I was shocked. I know Chris from Comic Tropes was really excited when Paste Pop Pete showed up too. That was a big moment for him. That was a shocker. And a shocker. Wait, so like, or like, anyways.
Both. When Shocker broke out the Shocker.
Signature move, just like a wrestler.
Right.
Why do they call you the Shocker? It's like I can't say the word, but there's that character from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back played by Mark Hamill. I can't say it, but I won't say it, I should say. Why do they call you blank knocker? Well, it's a funny story. See, bam. I love that.
Tropes that he was proud to play that role of Face Pop Beat.
Whoa, I didn't even the CGI in that show has been off the chain because I didn't even recognize you, man. That's awesome.
You know that's why he was breaking out the Speedo and the crop top to show you that he had the bod for that.
He's got the Marvel workout going. I can tell. Right? He's looking pretty good. Actually, like straight up, that was kind of a joke, but I've been watching a lot of Comic Trop's old videos. And I just want to say, like, I hope this isn't embarrassing or personal or whatever, but like, congratulations on weight loss, man. I've really noticed that you've trimmed down quite a bit. Like, because I was watching like, 6-7 years ago videos. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. Proud to see it.
Good job. Sydney Sweeney had the same nickname.
Wait, you heard Sydney Sweeney had the same nickname? That's weird. Sydney Sweeney came up on the show already? I can't believe it.
Their own show.
That's just for you, Richard.
Yeah, basically an in-joke for like 4 of our viewers. But hey, you know what? We love all our viewers. We love all our viewers.
Those boobs got their own show. That's right. That's us, right? Those boobs got their own show.
I couldn't wait. I love this so much. Yes,
he wrote that one too.
Yeah, and that one I did. Well, I got like both of them. I did all the editing and all the clips and all that stuff too. But yeah, the stuff I actually like to do. There's the death metal version of that's pretty good too. You guys might see the variant like in a future week or something. So yeah, let's see. So you've been watching those shows. Any movies or any reading or anything like that you've been doing?
I've really been wrapped up in trying to get some things finished that I've had on the back burner. So one of those things we'll see the fruition of later on. But yeah, just trying to stay busy with that other than having some things playing in the background.
Okay.
How about you?
Let's see. I've been kind of on a pause from the Daniel Warren Johnson Transformer stuff because my daughter's been requesting Percy Jackson, so we read that at night. I moved on to book 3 in the Court of Thorns and Roses series that we talked about last week. So I finished the first 2 books. I'm still on that series and enjoying it. Read some LaDonna Ragna comics.
Spanish Spider Woman from the 70s. I saw some of those on.
No, that's something Ragmo. Aranya Hombre Ragno, something like that. I can't remember how it actually goes.
Looks similar.
Yeah, I know it does. The perfect role for Sydney.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna blank the artist on the Mexican Spider-Man series when it kept going. Oh, it starts with a D. He was so good. He was so good.
Oh yeah. The guy that was he was aping the Marvel style. Yeah.
I'm definitely taking a note of this one. Oh geez, Italian porno comics about Spider-Woman.
Yeah, that's the ones. I saw some of those on West Coast Avengers. He was selling some of those.
Nice.
Yes.
I love that that's the stuff that gets recommended to me. I'll definitely check it out. See if I can find some online or something.
It's right in line with your reading material.
You're talking about reading Transformers. Yeah, you'd love this Italian porn comic. Let's see. What else have I been absorbing content-wise? I think I said I finished the last season of White Lotus. I've been watching Shrinking with my wife. I love that show. It's the Apple TV show with Harrison Ford is one of the psychiatrists, but Jason Segel is the main psychiatrist. And they're basically like exploring their personal lives of like a private practice of like 3 psychiatrists. Really funny show, really smart, really witty dialogue. Yes, I saw your tweet about this earlier. I really want to go see Sinners. I don't know if I'll make it to the theater to watch it, but I really want to see it. I've wanted to see it ever since I saw that first trailer. It blew me away. I mean, you got great team behind it. That's true. Good point. That is what she said. Psycho Phil. Hey, what's up, Eddie? How's it going? So we got some of our regulars streaming in here. Glad to see all of you. You guys may want to rewind just to see some of the new drops we have. I don't know.
Maybe, or watch it on the rewind.
Watch on the replay. That's the better advice. I feel like I did watch something. Oh, I finished Mickey 17. We were talking about that last week too, or the week before or something. But I finished that. I wanted to like it a lot more. I feel like it could have done a better job of exploring some of the consequences of cloning and some of the neat stuff that happens kind of around that. I want to read the book now, or I don't know if it's a novella or a full novel. But seeing that it was based on a book made me want to read it.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I thought they did a pretty good job with it.
Yeah, and I love Robert Pattinson. That guy he needs more. He needs more.
Right.
Yes, Andor coming back. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Oh, see, interesting. I heard there was some shocking, crazy stuff that happened already, but I haven't watched any season 2.
I haven't seen it yet.
But it's on the agenda. I thought about I just haven't had time. I've been doing a lot of other stuff with Easter this weekend, and then the daughter had the dentist appointment today, and my wife's schedule is a little weird at work. So I thought about just kind of letting some episodes kind of stack up and watching that. So I guess the only other thing we did that's worth mentioning is probably we picked up some comic books, right?
Yeah, we did some of that.
So you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Are we going back and forth kind of thing, or what are we doing?
Oh yeah, we got about the same number of books. Let's go back and forth. You know what? There's something I got to show. So Bigby was nice enough to swing by my place on his way to do something he's about to talk about. And he dropped off something. So I'm going to show what he dropped it off in, because I think it's really freaking cool. Mm-hmm. So this is, he said it was you said mostly was Travis that did this?
99% Travis.
Okay.
I don't really want to, I put some of the lettering around the outside and did a little bit of inking on it, but not much.
So I'm gonna probably cut this out of the box and put it in a bag and board or something like that so I can display it easier. But check out this. Kind of show it. So it's just in a mailer, but that's awesome. And so the words say, hey, read comics every day, broadcasting on all channels. We got band down there at the bottom. I got my kind of third eye opening up there.
Your psychic powers, broadcasting on all channels.
I thought that was really cool. So I just wanted to show that off and thank both of you guys. Travis, if you're watching on the rewind,
more than welcome.
Really appreciate the work you did on that. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, it was fun to work on.
So
speaking of Trav, I got some books from Trav while I was hanging out with him. So I get a really nice copy of the first appearance of is it Quanon? Is that her name? It's as
Quanon, yeah,
Quanon. Okay, so
but it's the first Psylocke armor suit, and then there's it's like a minor. It's for Shinobi Shaw too, I think.
Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was kind of a neat key to pick up. And we do 2, and then you go.
Go ahead and do 2.
I picked up this issue of Thor, a real nice high grade copy. This is the all pinup issue. Every page is a pinup.
Love that
splash page. So great Walt Simonson book. So
very cool.
Cool.
So I'll show off a couple books that I got. The reason I was picking that stuff up from Bigby and Comics Limited stuff, the reason he was dropping it off is because I picked up some stuff from their auction they did on Bigby's channel, not this last Saturday, but the week before. So I got a couple, speaking of legends, Bill Sienkiewicz covers here with some Elektra Assassins. I've already got issue 1, so this is issue 2. I was able to get that for my run.
Art is so amazing.
And then issue 3.
Yeah,
I love his covers on this whole.
So good.
Pretty much any Elektra cover he did. I'm
at that time, his stuff was so different than anybody else. It was just amazing. I mean, even nowadays, it's so different.
Even now,
but yeah, if we do another one of those, or we will do another one of those, you guys make sure to jump in, because Bronze, you can testify, stuff was going cheap.
Yeah,
we started everything at $1, and a lot of stuff was just going for $1. So.
That's true. That's true. I missed a chunk of it at the end, but tried to stay as long as I could, get some good stuff.
So I picked this Legion of X variant cover with the Juggernaut.
Who's the artist? Who's the artist on that?
I don't know. It's yeah, I couldn't tell you. He didn't sign it. At least not where I can see. Oh wait, yes, he did.
Oh, it's there.
It's just so faint. It's right there by his leg. I don't know if you guys can even. Can you see that signature?
No.
Okay. It's there, but I can't make it out. Anyway, it's a nice cover. It's a variant cover for that.
Very cool.
Then I was just flipping through a box and I was like, hey, that's Jenny Frison. So
yeah,
I picked
it's a nice Polaris cover. Polaris cover. I can't talk to it. That's a problem for a live stream.
Yeah. So yeah, I have been kind of starting to collect some Jenny Frison stuff. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Good choices.
Thanks.
There. Let's see. I got another 2 books here to show. This is one that I knew Travis had. That's Comics Limited, for those that don't know. Unfortunately, it's not the cover that I want the most, because you see more of the character on the minimal trade dress, or I don't think it's a Virgin. I think it's a minimal trade dress. But I still love this Warren Lau Psylocke cover. Speaking of variant covers,
that's right. You and Richard were going to war over that one.
Yeah, we had a little fight. I mean, a
little scuffle, a little kerfuffle.
Yeah. In the end, I think one of the people that watches this show won, and that's me. I watched the show. Richard didn't win that, but you know what? Maybe next time. I don't know why I even grabbed this, because I already have like a 9/8 copy of this, but for $1, why? Who could turn down a Something Is Killing Chill #1
for $1, right?
Yeah. But I just had to grab it. Love that series so much.
Coming to you at another Frankenstein comic swap.
Or like I thought maybe like channel giveaway or
there you go.
Something like that. Maybe Heroes for Heroes, which by the way, end of June, we're gonna have an announcement pretty soon about that. So stay tuned.
Right. So speaking of giveaways, I got this from Chef Flippin Comics.
Chef Flippin, nice.
Yeah. Second printing of the first appearance of Professor Hulk in a 9/0.
That's like the hard to find one, right?
The third printing is the really hard to find one, but hey, free is free, right? And it was a giveaway for another bigger Silver Age book, and I didn't win. He had something like 400 people on his wheel of names. They were the tiniest little slivers, and somebody else won the Silver Age book, and I was like, but I noticed I had been tagged in the video, and he's like, and I'm going to give away a second prize too, and he spun the wheel, and my name came up. So
nice, man.
One. Yeah, so
that's awesome.
I have only one other thing to show, so I will let you.
Oh, okay. I kind of that'll be fine then, because I have 3, but they make up. I know what yours is, so let's just say it should be fine. Yours makes up for the size of like 10.
You got a really good thing.
Here's the thing.
I gotta grab that action figure from downstairs.
We got the Hulk. Frank Cho doing a king size Hulk homage there.
That's a beautiful cover.
Yeah, that's a totally awesome Hulk number 23. Very cool. I love Frank Cho.
I think that went for $1.
It did. I was very happy to get that. And then it's one of the most confusing first appearance runs of any character. There's a whole bunch of books you have to collect if you want to get it, but one of them you should have is John Byrne's Next Men here, which is the first kind of partial preview appearance of Hellboy, basically. So that's one of the early keys you want to get.
He's on a poster in a comic shop.
Yes. And that's number 14 on that. So I got that for, I don't think it was like $10 or something. That was a great deal. So
yep.
And then I'll show my last thing.
Your last thing?
I mean, it's my last thing. You're gonna show your last thing, right?
You want to wait and show your last thing last?
No, you should show your last thing last.
Okay.
There's no way I'm gonna try to follow that up.
All right.
So this is a book I've been chasing for over a year now. Got sent an offer on it.
When you showed me this book, you sent me a picture. I was very jealous. I don't have that book.
Well, I mean, I got a good deal on it. I was following a few auctions on Shortbox, which I love, tracking some stuff on there. And one of the ones I was following sent me an offer. I made a counter. They accepted. I think I got a great deal on this. First appearance of the Juggernaut, which is why I was so curious about your Juggernaut cover there.
Ooh, baby.
It's the Juggernaut, bitch.
Right.
I hope people still know that reference. Otherwise, that is almost like offensive these days. But it's a 3.0. Yeah. Book I've been chasing for a long, long time, as Bigby knows, because he's
that's one that
heard me talk about it forever.
Definitely one I want in my collection.
Vinnie Jones, there we go.
So you guys know last week I showed off, I think it was last week, I showed off that Peanuts, the first 4-color that I picked up. Well, somebody had seen that on one of my posts on social media, Dave from Future Past Collectibles, and he really wanted to get that. He is much more of a funny books type of characters collector more than superheroes. And so he reached out and he said he'd be interested in picking that up, and as well as going up there and selling some books to him. And so he made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. And I got
an offer I can't refuse. There we go, man. Look at that beauty.
It is in really nice shape.
You had it like what, a 5.55?
5 to a 5.5, somewhere in that range. Yeah, it's beautiful.
God, that's gorgeous, man.
Yeah. So
you're like knocking out all those like Avengers keys for sure. Yeah, all the early appearances.
It's just the stuff that just kind of falls to you, though. It's like, it's not like I'm going out seeking them out. It's just like, oh, hey, I have this.
I think it's meant to be. I think it's meant to be, man.
Yeah. So so that was that happened on Saturday. So thanks to Dave from Future Past. I can't speak highly enough of him. You guys check him out. He does auctions on Instagram, YouTube, whatnot. So
that's awesome. Well, congratulations. I know that was a big deal for you, and it should be. And I love your reel you made on Instagram. It's worth going and check out, where he talks with Dave like in the same clip, and you guys talk about
it's on YouTube too. I did a short on YouTube as well. But yeah, there's a little video, and then Dave did one also, separate one. So
thanks, Christina.
We're both all smiles and happy, so it's good.
Hey, Leonard, Granny used to call them funny books.
That's right. That's right.
I love it. So there's some talk about the new Superman, which I mentioned that I saw the extended footage for it during Minecraft, a Minecraft movie. So I'll be honest, I have not seen pretty much any of the news and stuff. I'm actually kind of scrolling through and trying to find. There's a few things I heard about. I'm kind of pulling those news stories. I
hadn't heard that they're including Christopher Reeve. That's news to me.
That's new to me. I know there was a ton of stuff that came out about Superman Day news, and then there was a bunch of what is it called? The other thing that happened this weekend, is it D20? I feel like there was another big event this weekend. But yeah, I know there was a lot of news.
C2E2, is that it?
No, that was last weekend. That a bunch of stuff came out from that too. Oh, Star Wars Celebration. That's what it was.
Okay.
Star Wars Celebration. But I'm so behind on all the news on this stuff. So it's going to be an interesting news segment, for sure, as I'm trying to pull that stuff. But yeah, no, I didn't know about most of those things. Sounds interesting. Marty gets kicked by a horse. Huh. That's why Clark and Pa are crying in the trailer. Interesting.
Okay.
And it's Supergirl's horse. I feel like I'm being trolled right now.
I think you're right. I think he is trolling you. Possibly. Yeah, Eddie, that was his first appearance in the Silver Age.
The reintroduction of Cap.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm super happy to have it.
Oh, did I skip part of what you posted? Okay. Let me. I'm trying to get caught up with chat here.
Oh, okay.
I guess they shared that in this version, Pa Kent is also super gay, married to Marty instead of Martha, played by a CG Reeve. I mean, I would have known more that you were kidding, I guess, if I'd read that part.
Yeah, you probably would have known definitely you were getting trolled.
Yeah, that's what I get for just quickly trying to get caught up with all these wonderful messages.
Eddie,
it's a hell of a Pride Month announcement.
Since Eddie is in here, Eddie, I sent you a message on Instagram about those Sleepy Hollow Classics Illustrated. So,
Awesome Sauce is in the chat, by the way. He said hi earlier, but you were in the middle of talking. I didn't want to interrupt you. Supergirl and Our Horse comment is a movie blind out with Mac. I think we have some
Our Horse Comet.
Horse Comet is a movie
blind out with Mac.
Unfortunately, I don't know what the last part where there was supposed to be Awesome Sauce. I'm sorry about autocorrect. Oh my gosh, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Troll in the dungeon.
So you got Eddie replying to you there. So I think that's going to basically bring us now that we've done showing off our junk. Which is that's a different kind of show. Well, we got the new Sydney Sweeney drop, and it just it brings out the best in us. So we're gonna move on to our main topic here tonight, which again is talking about high grade. And what does high grade mean? Again, this comes to us from the Council of X chat that Bigby and I are both part of, where we kind of contributed to the conversation there, and we had some different opinions from people, and it really, a shout out to Bigby. He thought it'd be a good idea for a topic for the show, and I totally agree.
It was very entertaining while you guys were discussing it back and forth, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about on air.
Yeah, I felt like I was mostly alone in my thoughts, which is nothing new for me. So I'm curious to hear what yours are. So let me ask you this. Let's start out this way. If somebody says, let's say they have a modern age book, so post-copper age.
Okay. 1991 to current.
Yes. And they say it's high grade. What do you think of? What grade are you assigning to that book in your head?
I'm thinking it's 9 or above.
9 or above. Okay.
But in my mind, like if I'm thinking of something as high grade in my collection, it's probably a 9.4 plus in the modern era.
Okay.
If it was something that I was looking at getting slabbed, it would have to be a 9.6 or a 9.8.
It would have to be a 9.6 or a 9.8.
Yeah.
That's
certain books.
That's what I'm saying though.
Right.
It's the books matter, like big time to me at least, and I'm not saying they do to everybody else.
I'm not saying I would, thumb my nose at some of those books because that's a note I have later on. There's certain books that I would just be happy to have a copy in my collection.
Okay. Superman spelled backward is Mixelplix. Oh no worries, Awesome Sauce. We just love to have you here. Hopefully, our tones are lulling you into dreamland. Quick tip: fire up all your devices in your house with this YouTube channel playing, and fall asleep and watch us all night long. That's my recommendation.
Put it on replay.
Yeah, absolutely. Set it to autoplay next video. You go. No, I'm just kidding. So. Yeah, that's definitely where so for me it's 9.4. Like if somebody said, hey, I've got a modern age book, it's high grade. It's 9.4 or above. Because that's where I think of modern age, I think of it as being synonymous with near mint. And to me, if you say it's near mint or better, I'm thinking 9.4 and above.
Right.
Technically, there's grades below that contain the words near mint, like near mint minus, etc., or very fine near mint. But those are different things to me. And for whatever reason, that's where I draw the line with modern. Yeah. But where I'll break, and I'll just kind of like put this out there. I don't think slabbing has anything to do with grade. In a vacuum. I think the idea of slabbing or the idea of of any of that kind of stuff has more to do with value to me. What is the value of the book, regardless of the grade? Obviously, the grade affects the value, but I mean, the example I gave in that chat was you could have a Walking Dead #1, or you could have a like a Batman Adventures 12 or a New Mutants 98 or an Ultimate Fallout 4. Less so Ultimate Fallout 4 these days, but most of those books you can go substantially below that and still have it cost be worth 2 to 3 times the cost of grading, or exponentially more depending on the book.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there's there's some big books in the modern era. Yeah, that definitely. And you've got ASM 300 is in that lot too, right? So
yeah, well, I would call ASM 300 a Copper Age book.
There's a Copper, okay.
But that, I mean, that's just me.
No.
I kind of think of it as the final Copper Age key,
the final nail in the coffin of Copper Age.
Yeah, Copper Age to me, like it's weird. You have, and I know some people don't even acknowledge the Copper Age. It goes straight from bronze to modern for them.
Right.
I guess shout out to bronze and modern gods. I feel like they deserve a shout out for me saying that, because it goes right from bronze to modern.
Just skip right over Copper.
Yeah. But Copper, it's so funny. This is a different show, and it's something I'd love to talk about sometime, because I talked about it with Kyle. But the era of Copper versus modern is so damn silly. Like how short Copper Age was versus
Copper is like, what is it? It's not even 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like 8 years.
Yeah, it's 84 to 91, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody has a little bit different definition, but still it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so it is a pretty short era. I mean,
okay, so Eddie's saying he also thought high grade was 8 or higher. Interesting. Okay.
Well, it depends on, like, we're trying to define it for each era.
Yeah.
Well,
and I guess that's what we didn't say, is that to us it does depend on, for both of us, I think it's true. Era matters.
Right.
Okay. That's kind of the thing we didn't say, I guess.
Yeah. Because the older you get, the harder it is to get those books in the high grade. So
100%. And I mean, like, ultimately you could kind of have the argument, like, does it even really matter? Like, and I think it just matters because we go out there and we say, like, common terminology, jargon in the comic book collecting space. And people, it's something I love to talk about, which is intent versus impact. The intent of me saying high grade when I'm talking about modern age book is I'm saying this is 9.4 or higher. It's just kind of like shorthand for, it's like in that sweet spot of high grade. But if somebody thinks, high grade is 8 or higher, they might be like, whoa, why are you talking about that book being that valuable when, like, I can go get a copy that's 30% cheaper because it's an 8.0, or God, with a modern book that could even be 40 or 50% cheaper sometimes, or more. And this is interesting. I love this take. High grade 9.9 or higher. Now that's a fire take right there. I can't personally agree with that, but I appreciate the boldness of that. That's definitely interesting, because I've said for a long time the value that the market places on 9.8 is absolutely silly. It's meaningless. There's no reason why 9.8 should be a value that's held on a pedestal when it comes to comic books. Like, to me, going back to that, to me, it's like, okay, if you want to say it's because it's near mint, well, hell, that's 9.4. 9.8 near mint plus matters more than mint or gem mint.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I was wondering. I guess we're kind of defining, like, I was also wondering if you have a floor, or like, what's the worst grade you will accept for an era when you're collecting it, or is it just you're just happy to have a copy?
I gotta respond to this real fast. I don't know jack about grades compared to you two. I'm messing around, but no, that actually is a legit take. Yeah. Like, you might have been joking around, but you walked backwards into a legit, like, I can see purists saying that, because if you're in the graded collectible space to the point where you mostly think about grade, the vast majority of graded collectibles for a modern book especially, are going to be 9.8. So having a 9.9 is where you start to separate yourself above. So could you, if you're thinking like it's graded on a census of how many copies are out there, and there's 100,000 9.8s of this comic book out there, well, is that really high grade, or is that the grade that most of the comic books in existence are?
Right.
So it no longer is high grade, right? Like you'd have to go higher than that. That's a totally valid argument, believe it or not.
Right. I mean, and not necessarily even going with like slabbed books. Like some people, like Dave Future Past, is very rigid with his grading, and he'll stand by his grading. He's like, this book is a 9.8, this book is a 9.6, this book is a, and he's like, he's like, I'll stand behind that. So I mean, even raw books, like we're talking about grade, but
100%. I think it just intertwines so closely when you start talking about, especially like niche, like not niche, but exact grades, right? Like it kind of tends to go over to grading. But I'm sorry, you were saying, what about a floor? Can you say that again?
Do you have a floor on these eras? Like this is the lowest grade. Let's say you were going to get an Invincible #1. Is there a lowest grade you would want on that Invincible, or would you just be happy to have one, even if it was like a 4 or a?
Oh yeah, I'd be stoked. For me, for most books, I'd be stoked to have a complete cover attached copy of a book that is like if it's a book that costs $100 or less, that's not true. But if it's a
$1,000 book, or
if it's something that somebody could consider a grail, if it's something that I consider a valuable book, which to me is like, for me, that's like more than $500, I think. It's kind of, that's kind of, I'm a more of a budget collector than a lot of people. That's where I start to be like, oh, well, I mean, if the price is good for the grade, I'm not going to overpay for just because it's a key. Just because it's Invincible #1. I'm not going to pay more than a 1.5 is worth, or a 2.0 is worth. But I definitely would buy a 1.5 or a 2 for the right price,
right,
and be perfectly happy with it. Because, and Walking Dead #1, you could say the same thing. I'd say the same thing about, I mean, like my Batman Adventures 12 is like a 6.0, I think, which is first Harley Quinn, for those that don't know.
Right.
Which is still, it's kind of, to me, that one's even more acceptable. It's somewhat more of an early 90s book. It's a kid's title from that era, so a lot of them probably didn't really survive as in good a condition, in my opinion. The likelihood is lower. But yeah, I do have, like, to answer your question a different way, I have a floor for what I consider high grade for each era, like strictly speaking. But I'm way more of that, like, low grade is better than no grade kind of person, because for those types of books, and I've done this a few times. I did it with my X-Men 44. I've done it with my a couple different early X-Men books, where it's like I've gone out and I've bought a crappy looking copy of the comic because I wanted it and the price was good. And then, hey, later on, I got a great looking copy, or a much better looking copy. It presents better, the colors are sharper, less spine damage, whatever it is. And I'll happily upgrade that and sell the next book, because if it's those kinds of books, I feel like you should be able to move them pretty easily. Like who wouldn't? There's fewer copies in existence of a 1.5 Walking Dead for sure, but who wouldn't want, to, like, you really, like, if you didn't own a Walking Dead 1, you're going to snub your nose at a fair price. And some people will. More power to them. To me, that's insane. But that's just me.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering if there was, like, because when you go, Tropes asked a question about older books. And I think when you get into the older books, there is a level that I try to shoot for. At one point I told myself, like, I didn't really want to go under like a 3 on Silver Age books.
Yeah.
But there's some books where I'm just, I would just be happy to have a copy. I know that I'm not going to probably be able to pay, like that multiple thousands of dollars to get a super high grade copy of AF-15,
I mean, this is a 3.0 Silver Age book, and I'm stoked to have it.
Yeah, no, I would be happy to have that in my collection for sure.
My X-Men 10, which is first Kazar in the Savage Land, is a 1.5. For example. And I mean, so Silver Age, that's the age that I'm looking at the most books right now. And I would way rather be able to go grab a 1.5, 2.0, 2.5 of all those books and make sure I have them and can afford to get them all. And then I see
an upgrade.
Yeah, and I see on a long enough timeline, I don't see Silver Age, like especially the first 20 issues. I don't see those comic books going down in value much compared to the market, right? Like I see them raising over time, much like I would see like 1 through 50 of Spider-Man or Fantastic Four, similar to like a stock market or something like that. I see them basically steadily rising year over year, most years.
Right. Yeah, but if you can find that book or stumble into that book, or like I did, where I was like, I stumbled into that Peanuts book, and then I found somebody who wanted that and was able to flip that for the first cap. It's like great, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean you're kind of it kind of goes into a different avenue than we were talking about before, but I think it's an important part of the conversation, because what is high grade, what is mid grade, what is low grade? To me, like for example, I would be ecstatic, like beyond ecstatic. I would feel like a chunk of my soul had been completed if I had a 1.5 copy of X-Men #1 with the cover attached, complete cover. The back cover could be shredded. It could be missing pages. I'd prefer it to be complete, but for that book, I'd actually totally be happy with that. As long as the cover was complete and attached, great. I'm there for you. And I'd be super happy about it in a 1.5. And I know that's still, I would still call that a low grade book, even for an X-Men 1. It's a low grade book. That's just what it is. But the difference is where I would call it mid grade and high grade. Those thresholds are still lower than they would be for a modern book, for sure.
Right.
And that's kind of where it is for me. So like, let's talk about Silver Age then. So like, what's your...
Did we skip copper? We skipped copper and bronze.
I mean, we can skip copper. I just kind of, what I was trying to do is work my way back to the Golden Age question that was asked earlier. But yeah, let's do...
Yeah, we can do that. We can go back to Golden Age and then come back the other way. That's fine.
Yeah, I feel like modern's like almost the outlier, because everything is such high grade for the most part. The vast majority of it. So let's go back to Golden.
And we do have a lot of stuff in the chat to catch up on.
Okay, I've starred some of these comments for sure, so we'll get back to them.
Like Tropes' question about Golden Age is a good question too. So
yeah, okay. Well, that's where we're going to start. So Golden Age. Would you buy
any copy? I would prefer to have a cover. I don't like to go coverless.
Yeah, but same.
If I had a Detective 27 coverless, I'm not going to complain, right?
Yeah. A page,
one coverless, right?
A page from either of those books, I would be happy.
Right.
Just those two books, by the way. Those are probably the only two I consider that. Just for
there's a couple other Golden Age books that I would think were great, but they're Superman 1, Batman 1.
I guess it does depend on the page. Like there's certain pages which are really nice panels and stuff that I would maybe be more happy about.
Comics, there's some big ones there. There's a lot of Golden Age that I would just be happy to have.
Yeah,
a 1.0 or a 0.5, even if it was missing wraps inside and stuff. I have a copy of Jughead #1. It's a Silver Age book, but is it silver? Maybe it's late Golden Age. But it's missing the center wrap, but it's a Canadian white printing, so there's only 3 copies on the census, I think.
Yeah.
It's a 0.5 because it's missing the center wrap. But so age and era matter for sure. But yeah, I would be happy just to have that. Other than that, missing the center wrap is a beautiful book.
So Golden Age, since we're on there right now, where would a high grade Golden Age be book to you? Like what grade?
5.0 is high for a Golden Age book. You start getting into like the 5s and stuff. You're getting some books, they don't get higher than a 6, in existence. So I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
and that's funny because 6 is I'm fairly ignorant about the golden age, like admittedly so. And so I said 6 is high grade, but that's a great point. I love that you picked 5. Because I think that makes a lot of sense. But I was thinking about it's like, man, it is that's like where it shows like going from modern to golden. It 100% depends on the age of the book because even like CGC, they
Right.
grade golden age books differently than they grade every era after that.
Yeah, I heard somebody was talking about that. They said they thought that there was a little bit of a curve on the golden age stuff.
Yeah, they've even admitted, in interviews and stuff that a golden age book is going to get some different consideration than like a copper age book, for example.
Swag says 11-0 or bust.
See, Swag's kind of with Comic Tropes. Comic Tropes is like 9-9 because apparently he watches Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That's his favorite TV show, I think. Is what's happening there. So Brandon, just to go back to the chat because I do want to get caught up with some of these comments, said my Eternal 7 #1 bought during the boom looks great. Lol, I laugh at it every time I look at it. I think my Eternals #1 is only like an 8.5. It's not much better. But the problem is, because you said that, Brandon, is you probably paid, hopefully you didn't, but you probably paid a premium for that book at that time. But that's true of pretty much every key, especially one that had some spec kind of sniffing around it during that time. So I don't know. I think we were talking about this when you dropped off those comics. There's some books that I've definitely like. I barely am in the black on, like, over the history of what it's worth. Like I was talking about, you mentioned Frizen and Something is Killing Children. I have a Frizen 9.8 Something is Killing Children variant, which was I think that was the FOC variant or whatever that she did for #1. I think since I bought it, it's only gone up like $10. And and I bought it raw and I got it graded. So if you think about it that way, most graded books, if they're a 9.8, that usually you're making money on that or doing well if you were smart in which book you chose. And I think that's a great key. If they have an announcement of a show, a lot of interest is going to go back to that.
Yeah.
Back to that comic. And I love the comic. That's the most important part to me, actually. But still.
I think it might be an interesting topic for another show, but like a lot of going to that you bought it during the boom. I've been trading with a lot of people who have books that they bought during the boom, and it's interesting their take on it. Like a guy who he paid $6,000 for a mid-grade first appearance of Black Panther. It's only worth like little over 2 now.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know if I can part with it for what it's worth, Another guy who got his Hulk 181 when it was worth way more, almost double what it's worth now, during the boom. And I'm like, I can't. It's not, my books have gone down in value too, so I can't give you full value what you paid and give you my books for what they're currently valued at. But
yeah, exactly. Would you pay for original Jack Kirby art if it had a coffee ring on it, like even if it was from Captain America #1? Would you pay? Oh my God, more than 25?
Yeah, you're thousands there, Tropes. That's like.
And what kind of cracked me up there is Jay's comment. I hear the coffee rings add value. If you could say a Jack Kirby's coffee ring on it, oh my gosh,
right.
I would probably inflate the value on that a little bit just for that. I'm a weirdo, like that unique aspect. Like, let's say there was a picture of him with the coffee mug.
Or there's like a cigar burn on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm down for that, man. Probably not for a whole lot of people other than somebody, like Papa Jack, but
right. Tropes had a good question about the turtles too. There are a lot of turtles in first prints in mid grade though.
Let me see if I can find that one here. Could I find a mid-grade TMNT #1 first print? I only ever see 9.8s for tens of thousands. 100%. Yeah. 100%.
There's a lot of mid-grade copies out there.
Yeah. I think for Heroes a couple years ago, we were selling, and it was like a 4th print or something like that, but we were selling one that was still kind of like high mid-grade, low high grade. It was a really good example of this topic where 10 people would look at it and call it mid-grade, and 10 people would look at it and call it high grade. Right, like it was right on that line. So
right.
But that absolutely is something you can do. Now, I haven't been paying attention to that book specifically, but I feel like it's probably gone down along with most of the books. But I would say like mid grades, man, might be kind of a good time to buy one. Maybe I haven't looked at it. I'm just guessing.
It still has a pretty strong following, but yeah.
But that's the thing is like that's one of those books like the early X-Men or like the early Spider-Man or stuff I was talking about. It's not realistically, it would take most collectors dying off for and lost interest in the public zeitgeist for Spider-Man or X-Men for those comic books to drop down. Same for TMNT. And TMNT readers have the potential to be much younger than some of the X-Men, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man readers are out there because it came out, 20 years later or whatever.
Yeah.
Granted, there's still a lot of distinguished aged salt and pepper TMNT fans out there. Not us, of course. I'm talking about much older people.
I was around when that book first came out. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. I know some people who know some people, Chris. So maybe we should talk about that because maybe I can help you out. That would be great to make that come true. Because I love seeing people who don't. I would never say Chris doesn't collect comic books, but I'd say Chris reads comic books based on what I've seen. Because I know he sold his collection at one point, and I don't think he really collects, especially not like we do. I think that's very fair to say. But seeing collectors like that get their Grail or something like that, like just man, I mean, seeing anybody get their Grail brings warmth to my heart. Somehow, like the Grinch, it grows 2 extra sizes, and then it just kind of pops out of that little golden frame that's around it.
Like what is reading? The cover's real pretty, but there is stuff inside.
It's so funny, like definitely a different topic, but the variant cover game that is around these days absolutely makes me feel like the guts on those books don't matter sometimes 9 out of 10 times to a lot of collectors. And it's such a bizarre thing where like if you have like a sports card and you have like a 1 of 100 purple prism refractor holofoil bejazzled card, that's the card. But if you have like a 1 limited to 100 variant cover by Clayton Crane signed with a rainbow signature refractor, blah 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 blah, that's a comic book that there's potentially hundreds of thousands of other comic books out there with the exact same interior, printed at the same, basically the same print run, more or less. And those comic books could be worth $1 or 50 cents, but that one, because of the cover and because of what Clayton Crane did on it or whatever, is all of a sudden more prized than a real chunk of adamantium or something. It's pretty crazy when you stop and think about it.
Right. Yeah, no, you could get the exact same story, the exact same reading experience, but it's just about the cover.
The exotic cat poop. I love it.
That was from that's from Reacher.
Yep.
I just got that.
Season 3.
Reacher. Yeah, there we go. Reacher callback.
It's sad because a lot of folks that buy comics never read them. They buy them and slab them and try to retire on them. That makes me sad. Comics are meant to be read and loved. And look, I want to throw this out there. I absolutely will buy variant covers that I love the cover and do not care about the insides. But I also absolutely, I don't have my tablet next to me, but I have gigabytes of comic books on my tablet that I'm reading. And I'm collecting old paper these days more than new paper. But hey, I mean, gosh, Psylocke #1, this Warren Lau cover.
Right.
I'm probably not going to get around to reading the Psylocke series. I might. If people say it's really good, eventually I will. But I love this cover. I love the character.
Do I care about the reading X Factor 5? No, I picked it up because it's got a Jenny Frison cover,
and it's, at the same time, I read tons of comics, and not just old comics too. Like, that issue he's talking about, I think I read that issue, but eventually I read all that stuff that I do collect, except for things like that where it's just for the cover. But and there's also a lot of people, just like what Steve's saying. There's people out there, or I'm sorry, Eddie's saying that. Sorry, I was reading Steve's comment while I said that. There's people out there that, yeah, they are only collecting the covers or the cover art, or they're for the value. I have a complicated relationship with that approach, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, Bigby, because to me, I feel like those people are still helping the comic book industry as a whole. Like,
yeah,
they're still helping the artists get work and get paid.
Yeah.
They're still helping the publishers and the distributors. They're still helping, in a lot of cases, whether it's a local comic book shop or like an online comic book shop or whatever it is. Those people are all in the comics business.
Right.
And do I wish more of those people were cracking the books open and reading them? Yeah, absolutely. I do wish that. But at the end of the day, they are buying them. And
then the same thing, like, what if you're buying the same book but like 5 different covers, right? You're not going to read every single copy.
Yeah. Man, I've got a bunch of those. Like, there's a new Supergirl series, and I think I'm getting like 3 or 4 of the covers. A couple more blanks because I want to get some commissions done. It's a little bit different,
right?
But I'm getting a couple of covers just because I like the art. And now I will read that series. I'm really behind on like Supergirl, but I will read like every Power Girl and Supergirl series. I'll read because I like those characters a lot.
Right.
It's just, it might take me forever to get around to them.
There's a lot of stuff to read out there, for sure.
Oh, the bucket list. Okay, so I guess that must be like a real rich people hoity-toity thing. Yeah. In a lot of cases, yeah, you probably sent that even maybe before I was saying that, but
there is so much to read out there right now.
Yeah, and man, my list just keeps getting longer and longer. Hey, what's up, Kamikaze? You probably have a lot of interesting thoughts on this topic. I know Kamikaze. I've seen lots of posts on his social media where he'll have like a bunch of copies of a book that is, clearly, I know like 1 or maybe 2 of them or whatever his top ones are, like for his private collection or his personal collection.
Right.
But he also sells comic books too. But like he'll have, might be making this up, but I feel like 8 or 9 copies of like X-Men 50 or whatever. I feel like I've seen posts like that from him. So I'm kind of curious. He might have some interesting thoughts on this too. But how do you feel about that topic of like collecting, the cover art and not necessarily reading all the books? And do you still think it's like helping the industry out, or do you think it's like,
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like I said, I've just started getting into collecting Jenny Frison covers, and that doesn't mean that there's going to be any connective tissue between reading those books. They're all over the place from publishers and storylines, but it's like, pretty artwork that I like, so
yeah. Well, and Eddie's comment here, I was talking more about the folks that only buy slab 98 #1 books. They have no interest in the book, the characters. They just want the value, which is why I laugh when prices crash. And I'm with, you can go right along with the top 5 not to buy series that I make, which is kind of focused on some of this. Some of this stuff is a little silly to me. I don't begrudge anybody what they collect though. And I've had a comment recently where somebody was on my channel when I made those videos, like, you're only talking to investors and people who don't read comic books, which I took a little bit of umbrage to, because I do read those comic books, and I do also buy them as investments sometimes. Like, I have no qualms about looking in comic book boxes, and if I see a comic book that I have no interest in, but it's at a great price, and I know, like, in my heart of hearts, that comic book's going to go up over the years, I'll buy it. Sure. Why not? And then this is just me, but let's say that comic book becomes I bought it for $10 and it's worth $10,000 20 years later. Awesome. I will happily sell that comic book and go buy the comic books that I know I want for my personal collection, or take care of bills I need to take care of or whatever. But mostly it's to buy more comic books that I actually want. It's kind of a little bit of an open market approach, because I can't afford a lot of the comic books that I want to buy. So I need to kind of find a way to make, people say make the hobby pay for itself or whatever, a little bit of that.
Right.
But I just need a way to like get some back from it. And I'm not afraid to do that if I see the value or potential there.
Right.
That's still different than what he's talking about, where he's talking about like the 9/8 slab guys. But again, they're still putting money into the system, the slabbing company, and frankly, the economy, the shipping, all that kind of stuff, the printers. So it does factor in. I completely understand the revulsion that people have to that. I get it. Just from a fan perspective, but I think it's important to remember, like, they aren't just tourists.
I personally try to keep a lot of the modern spec stuff at arm's length, and the variant covers and all that stuff. But when I see people who have them and now it's 2 years later or whatever, and they're selling them for $2 and $3 a pop, I'm like, oh, I like that artwork. Yeah, sure, I'll pick it up. So, but yeah, I try to avoid that, because I've seen too much potential for loss.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, the elements like Comic Trope mentions it here with the industry of the short-term flipping, the potential there, and then Eddie mentions it here with prices crashing. That is the real danger. It's not like it's all sunshine and rainbows. Is it can kind of lead to that, and if enough people get burnt on that stuff, it can, like, okay, then they're going to stop buying comic books and stop investing in them and stop collecting them. Again, I always would prefer that people are reading those comic books as well, for sure, because I want more readers, because I think readers are the thing that will keep comic books going for a long time. It can't just be propped up with just investors selling to each other over and over and over again. But I think we've proven over the last, especially the last 5 years, that it can be a shot in the arm for the industry in some ways at times. It needs more than that. Kamikaze says, I'm a huge fan of the artwork on older books. It's really more than anything for me. Still enjoy the creativity. It's just not the storylines that get me interested. Totally fair. Yeah.
Right.
Ozzy, do you still buy modern like books just because you like the artwork though? Like, are you still, you like the artwork on the older books, but what about some of the newer stuff? Does it still interest you? Pop Sequentialism, shout out to Matt, says publishers will tell you that they make all their money on covers, variants, etc., but so few of them have a recent metric of comparison to show whether a really good comic wouldn't sell on its own. And I do agree with this. It is one of those things where we haven't seen it in so long, where a comic book just has one or maybe two covers, month after month. And we don't see a lot of good access to the data. So it is kind of hard to say if that actually is true or not. Like, I do wonder, I think I made a video about this at one point. If Marvel, for example, because they're the easiest example, instead of having like 30 variants for one comic book and 4 for another one and 2 for another one, if they just had 3 covers for every single book they did, would it ultimately be better for creators and artists and stuff like that? Would it spread out the work more? Would it generate interest in other titles that don't get variant covers as often, that might have creative variant covers that could be produced, or would it hurt them? I'm always curious about that. People are after amazing covers and unique art. People are interested in. Yeah, most comic book collectors are cover buyers, so it is kind of a problem that we create in some ways too. Nothing is wrong, just makes me sad because comics bring me so much joy. That's the part I agree with.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Okay, based on the artist. So yeah, I mean that's pretty, that bears that with your comment here too, Ozzy. Great little side tangent to this part of the conversation, which is necessary.
Well, no rabbit hole there a little bit.
No,
Okay.
It's great.
It's good talk.
You guys, we've said before, there's a third panel member on this chat, regardless of on this show, regardless of whoever we might have here, and it's the chat. So
right, and we appreciate all the value you guys bring to the entertainment. So
going back to, we did Golden Age, we've done Modern already. We did Golden Age. That's 5.0 or higher for me, 6.0 or higher for you. How about Silver Age? Do you have a number for that?
Golden was 5 for me, 6 for you.
Oh, did I reverse that?
Yeah,
sorry.
But yeah, Silver, 7.0 is pretty nice for a Silver Age book.
7.0.
Yeah, I mean, even a 6.5 looks pretty nice sometimes. So I mean,
yeah, my answer was 7.5, so I'm very close to you.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed right, because I'm thinking like, what a high grade, when even at Silver, a 7.5 for me, and a 7's pretty close to that, obviously. There's an appearance that I see on them,
right?
Really, it's just kind of,
you can get like this is a 5.5, but yeah, I mean, the big drawback is there's about a 1/4 inch split at the very bottom. So, but yeah,
well, especially on a book like that, where there might be one glaring flaw, but then the rest of the book looks fantastic,
right?
Where it presents, better than maybe just the grade kind of indicates, strictly from
right. And that's again where you go to that common phrase, buy the book, not the grade.
Yeah.
So or presents well, you hear that a lot. So
yeah, I as much as I loved collecting Something Is Killing the Children, Matt, I tend to agree with you. Like, I think issue 16 had like 107 different covers or something, kind of dynamite levels of insane.
Right.
Which is something I'll always talk about. 9.8 for Silver Age for Comic Drops. Yep. 9.9 for Modern, 9.8 for Silver Age. All right, I like it. Hey, there you got some love for Mr. Science Snake on the. Yeah, it does look really good.
Thank you.
Once slabbed, it matters more to me how the cover presents than what the actual grade is on Silver.
Right.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about slabbing, that makes sense.
Yeah, when you're slabbed, you could have stuff the cover could be completely split.
Yeah,
but you can't tell on the slab.
Yeah, that's true. I present well, but I'm breaking down. I'd give myself a 5.5. But look, man, like we're talking about, where there's almost a scale with eras for us. For people, hey, a 5.5 is still high grade in my book. Unfortunately, that means the scale goes pretty low for most people. A lot of low grades out there that are presenting themselves as high grades. Let's put it that way. So just to kind of wrap up, then let's do Bronze and Modern. Bronze and Copper. So how about Bronze? What's your grade cutoff for that?
For high grade, probably 8.0 to 8.5 for Bronze, I think. But again, there's a lot of books I wouldn't thumb my nose at.
Yeah. give him a clean press.
Give him a clean and press. There we
go. For me, it's 7.5 is mine, which I'm right next to you. You've even said 7 to 7.5. I'm right there with you on that one. And then so we can kind of move on from telling you where our scale is and kind of talk about some of the nuance. How about Copper?
9-ish area.
I said 9 for Copper as well. So we're actually pretty close. So pretty much across the board.
Are there eras, or where would you accept restored books?
I had this thought. And I think I might make a video about this, just because I think it's a compelling conversation starter. And I had this thought like last week. Somebody was talking about a purple label in one of our chats. I think it's one of the ones that we're both in. I can't remember who. And I had that thought of like, why do people care so much about restoration? Like, I'm saying in a vacuum, most restoration I see, I think is, for me, pretty harmless. Now there's some egregious restoration on there that almost kind of borders on, are they trying to forge something, or are they trying to kind of like create a artificial better book? And I get that some people view all restoration that way, but I think there's restoration and there's preservation. I think it's important we kind of talk about that too a little bit. Preservation, I think, is important. You have a book that's literally deteriorating, and you can stop or slow that and preserve that history. It's all paper. All paper's breaking down, right? So I think on a long enough time scale, I kind of, especially for obviously older books, I support that. But with restoration, I don't really like. I have a First Havoc that has like minor amateur color touch on it. I can't, unless I run a black light over it, I never would have known that was there. And I don't have the impression that it was done. You can never know. I don't have the impression it was. I think it was probably a kid that probably was trying to, but they did a really good job, in my opinion. And I can see somebody doing that, but it's just one of those weird things for me where I don't care about it as much as other people. And a purple label is from CGC, which is a restoration label for people I don't know. It's like a kiss of death for a lot of people,
right?
I just don't have a problem with it as much. Again, as long as it's disclosed. I think that's one of the beauties of CGC.
Think it's crazy on like some of the old, like the really old big golden age keys that like you can get a copy of something that's like a 7.0 and it goes in restored, or or an 8.0 restored. It goes for less than a 4.0 blue label. Or it's just I was watching a video from Keston's old school comics where he was going after Marvel Comics #1, and he was expecting a 7.0 restored to go for less than a 4.5 blue label. He thought it would go for significantly less, and it actually went pretty close to. They went pretty close to the same. But
yeah,
but that a lot of, back in the day, restoration was common. It wasn't frowned upon like it is now for during the golden age. So
yeah, and I mean it's funny because I know, like for example, pressing and cleaning used to be viewed as restoration,
right.
or vilified, depending on who you talk to in some cases.
Right.
And we've kind of come to accept that, especially I think as honestly as grading has sort of taken an inevitable foothold in the comic book space. I think that's something that's definitely been accepted more by people. But yeah, I guess that's part of it for me is like, tell me the difference between, fixing a spine split and cleaning, a comic book with like, UV light to remove yellowing on white, or some of the chemical treatments that are done on some comic books to clean them. The very, very splitting hairs difference to me.
Right. A lot of people it really matters to. Some people it don't. But
yeah.
Like I said, a lot of books I'd just be happy to have a copy. So but it's interesting how that really affects the price on a lot of things.
Well, I was just gonna say that's the catch for me, is that to me it still should affect the price.
Right.
Maybe depends on what you mean, because I don't necessarily think drastically in some cases.
Oh, you're talking like less than half of.
Yeah.
It drastically affects the price.
It absolutely can. And it's kind of like, I think Pop Sequentials have had a comment here I was going to get to, but it says green is a hard resell too. And when you're talking about purple and green, to me, it's not necessarily even about price, because on some books, the price is actually not too far off. Like I mentioned X-Men 50 earlier, so I'll point that one out. I actually toyed around with the idea just because of like a weird OCD kind of thing I have. I thought about seeking out a green label for that book just because I think it looks cool with the green label. Because that, for those who don't know, it's the Steranko cover, the green cover, with Polaris on it. And I think it would be kind of fun to have a green label for that, just for that reason alone. And so I tracked a lot of green label prices on it before I ended up buying my my blue label eventually, actually, just because the price was perfect for me for what I needed. And they actually kind of held value for a long time. But yeah, definitely for a lot of books, it can be a kiss of death and it can be harder to sell. So I think that's
I have a green label, Captain Britain #1. missing that mask that comes with it.
Yeah,
it's like it's a 9.6, I think. It's missing the mask. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for me. Like, I don't mind. Like, I think it's an amazing bonus for things like 3D glasses to be in some of those Dave Stevens books, or tattoos to be in First Hobgoblin or whatever. I think it's an amazing bonus, but I don't necessarily think it should be like, 40% less of the value or something of the collectible. Because I don't think most people care about it for the mask. To me, it should just be like an extra, like, it should be like a 10 to 50% premium.
Mask was just kind of not even really bound in there. It's just kind of laid in the book. It's like I could find a mask somewhere, pair it up, I guess.
Well, that's good. So we're kind of dancing around a couple of these things. That's one of the ones that I have a hard time with, is marrying, which is not exactly what you just talked about, but kind of, right?
Kind of, yeah. Marrying covers and marrying pages.
Like, I thought about that. Like, if I ever found a coverless, like, one of my biggest rails, X-Men 1. If I ever found like a coverless X-Men 1, and then I went and found a cover only, like, why is it such a sin to marry those two things together and have a complete collectible again? As long as, and this is where I do draw the line,
you're not trying to pass it off as
exactly. I just don't understand, like, the demonization of that. I also don't think that, let's say it's a 4.0 and ends up being like a 4.0 married copy or whatever. I don't think it should be worth as much as a non-restored 4.0 copy. I don't think that's fair either. But yeah, to me, it should be in that ballpark.
Right.
If restoration brings a book to higher grade than the best blue label, I don't have a problem with it. That's fair.
I've seen some beautiful restoration done on books and preservation. I don't know if you watch Jerry the Jitterbug or not, but some of his stuff is amazing. What he does,
he does some insane stuff. I was telling somebody who loves to watch pressing videos, I was like, oh, have you watched, it was that Frankenstein, I think. I was like, did you ever watch Jerry the Jitterbug? He's like, no, never heard of that guy. And I think the name kind of threw him off, and I'm like, nah, go check him out. Like, seriously, like, if you like nerding out on that stuff, go watch that channel. Like, I did some crazy stuff.
It's amazing to watch him, and almost nerve-wracking to watch him disassemble these super valuable books and put them in the aqueous bath and soak the pages, and then press them out and take the yellowing off of them and stuff. And he's doing it all with the acceptable things that aren't consistent. He does both. He'll let you know if you want to go for a book that's going to be a qualified label, he'll do that. Or if you want to go for one that's going to pass muster and go and get a blue label, he'll do that too. So like that, you can only use like water, like distilled water and stuff. You can't use any chemical agents or anything like that. So
yes, poster restoration is very similar to that. That was a rabbit hole I fell down for a while. It's like it wasn't Jerry, but there was the first time I've seen him do it now a million times, but the first time I ever saw somebody do a water damage repair, they were doing it on a giant size X-Men 1. And they just started like hosing it down with distilled water. And I was like, what are you doing?
Right.
It just freaks me out.
Right.
But sure enough, done carefully, following, I would not try this at home on my giant size X-Men 1. If you're watching this, I'm not condoning you do that. But maybe go check out that content. You just search, I think if you just search giant size X-Men 1 water damage repair, something like that, you'll probably find it. And
there are a handful of really good restoration. Immaculate Cleaning and Pressing is another one.
And that sounds familiar. That might have been the channel that did it, actually.
Yeah, he has templates that are laser cut out to do like Hulk 181, where he can do the UV light. It only highlights the spots where you want to hit it with UV. He's smart. He gets super technical.
I think that's just fascinating. And I don't hold to the notion that it's damaging in some ways, but I digress.
Yeah. I was another rabbit hole, but I was wondering where you fell on the restoration side of things. So
yeah, not as big a deal to me is definitely where I fall. If you happen to be watching us on the rewind, we got some comments from the chat we'll go over here, but definitely drop us your opinion on restoration or any of the things we talked about.
Yeah, please.
Like Red Chair here, I wanted to get to this. Comics restoration seems like cheating. Fair enough. It's the thing where I do kind of understand both sides.
If you're trying to pass it off, as something that hasn't been restored.
Well, but I mean, some people, I can kind of understand the purism. Is that a word? Of saying it should only be however it was, and try to preserve it as best you can.
Time affected it, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. I can understand that. I don't agree with it personally, but I definitely can understand it.
What do you do after the distilled water?
Should I feel guilty about swapping the Pope's mitre with an anvil while he slept? I think no, because I don't think he cares anymore. I think you're fine. I think you're fine. And realistically, what's he gonna do? Nothing. You're good. R.I.P. Pope. I don't even know the current Pope's. I didn't know his name, so I'm sorry. I don't know which one he is. Francis? I don't know. I have a guess. Did he die on Easter?
What's that?
Did he die on Easter Sunday?
I didn't even know that he died. I'm sorry. I'm out of the loop.
Yeah. By the way, the Pope passed away. Maybe it was the day after. Maybe he died this morning or something. I'm not sure. I know there been some articles he was in poor health for a while. Yeah, canceled.
Yep, we're canceled.
This is the thing that got us. It wasn't the Sydney Sweeney drop earlier about her boobs. It was this.
Right. Mr. Science Snake asked, "Well, what do you do after the distilled water? Is it a hairdryer?" Need to know.
Go watch the video. I think he put it in a humidity controlled room.
They have a lot of times they'll do they have the what do they call it? What's it called? Ramekin paper. The stuff that they put each page laid out on the paper in between, and they're pressing them, and it's soaking up all of the discoloring agents off of that stuff.
Or just use a dirty towel. I mean, really, whatever,
Get your iron out and just iron your comics.
The difference between a good, appropriate restoration and bad is like the difference between an expensive and a cheap boob job.
Speaking of, there we go.
I would never besmirch your reputation with such slander.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's well said. Pope Francis died, so I was right with the name. Okay, cool. Died at 7:30 this morning. Wow, so he made it right through Easter Sunday. Wow. Crazy. Good time to go watch. Was it called The Covenant? No. The movie about the cardinals electing the new pope that just came out. The Conclave.
Right. Yeah.
So definitely go check that out in the meantime, I guess. It's appropriate viewing for right now. Maybe that's going on behind closed doors. That was a trippy movie. Yeah, so I think the only other thing is, we kind of talked about this a little bit with value of the comic book affecting high grade. Like, to me, we talked about like Walking Dead #1 is a very valuable book. If you found a Walking Dead #1 and it was, you said I think you said 9.4 or better, right? Or you said 9.0 or better for modern?
I said 9.4 plus.
9.4 plus, okay. Yeah. So if you found a 7.0 Walking Dead #1, would you refer to that as high grade?
No, I wouldn't. I would if I'm talking about it, trying to sell it to somebody, you mean, or tell somebody about it, I wouldn't say it's high grade. No, not
even talking about selling it, but if you were describing it to somebody and you saw it, it was pretty high grade, or would you say no, it was mid grade? Or
I would say for the era, it wasn't in great shape, but whatever price it was, if I picked it up, it was a good deal.
Yeah,
for that price. Yeah.
Now, give me a different example here. If you saw a 7.5 ASM 300, is that high grade?
No, it's not high grade. Again, you'd be looking though to make sure it's appropriately priced. I would not have a problem having a copy of that in my collection. I think I have a 7.5 first Deadpool. So I mean,
and do you just call that mid grade then for yourself?
Yeah, it's a mid grade copy. Yeah.
So you're very steady on like those are your breakdowns for each age, and doesn't matter what the book is. It's not going to break in to that territory unless it hits that grade level. Doesn't matter what.
I just it doesn't. It's not going to break into high because high grade is high grade. It's like, but the book is the book, right? I mean, high grade is high grade, but having the book is having the book, But low grade better than no grade.
What grade would you call a 4.5 Tech 27?
Oh, that's high grade.
That's high grade.
Or that's bordering on high grade.
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to trick you. It's the best book I could think of in the area where you said 5.0 or better is high grade.
Yeah,
so,
bordering on high grade. I mean, that's right there. I mean, we could look that up on GPA and see how many copies there are over a 5, and it's probably not a lot.
Right. That was my like only curveball I could throw your way, because for me, I was thinking about this, and it's like, I think it only matters for the purposes of grading, because that was the part I was toying around with, is does it matter on, it's fun to take the really old examples and the really new examples and kind of play around with it a little bit. Does it matter a little bit what book it is and what the value of that book is? I mean, you consider a book like Walking Dead #1, where it's worth easily in any grade hundreds of times what just about any comic book that came out as a contemporary to its era is. Does it matter? And it's like, it's still to me, it's relative. Like, if you were to tell me because of a production error, there are no copies above an 8.0 of Walking Dead #1. Obviously, this is completely hypothetical.
Well, then that sets the bar then for what high grade is, right?
Exactly. And that would be a very specific case by case thing, or
Right.
when you're talking about older comic books, the census, the existing copies that we have left today, that we're at least the ones we know about. You can only do so much, right?
Right.
And then by the way, this actually kind of ties into what we were just talking about. Rich here says, does print run come into play when grading? Bar should come down with the fewer known copies that exist. So I personally don't agree that the bar should come down with the fewer known copies just on its own. But if the fewer known copies are all lower grade, I do think that there should be some consideration given there.
I mean, there's something to be said for like the grade is the grade is the grade, right? I mean, there's like consistency, right? And so like when you do get that true gem of a book let's say it's a golden age book that hits the 9s, it's amazing, right?
Yeah,
but
almost regardless of what it is,
right? But yeah, like we've been hearing, there is a little bit of grading on a curve for the golden age books.
Yeah.
So,
and I by the way, I'm also conflating this a little bit. I'm realizing with to me the idea of kind of what I was just talking about, which is there's a manufacturer defect essentially, because every comic in the print run was affected by this one problem or whatever. There's going to be a finger bend, or what looks like a finger bend 3/4 of the way up on every copy of this particular book or whatever.
I've heard of a couple of those. Like there's a print roller defect on, I can't remember which book it is, but it's a fairly valuable book, but it's a known print roller defect that you always see. And so they're supposed to overlook that at CGC. But
yeah, I want to say this rings a bell as being like a Copper Age Marvel book or something for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's stuff like that. I guess I would take that into account. But then I also because that was at one point, at least, that was CGC's stance, is that if there's a known production error, they'll take it into account, and kind of, they never use the words grade on a curve, but the way they kind of describe it basically comes down to grade on a curve, where it's like, well, if if the best possible copy out there cannot be, what we would call a 9.8 normally, then the best copies, like, does that now make that a 9.8? And kind of from their perspective, at least from what Matt Nelson said at the time, it was basically yes. I think the distinguisher
ones, the ones with the production error, they said they were telling their graders to overlook that production error.
Yeah.
And
I do believe that the distinction was that it could not be a 9.9 or a 10, or at least it couldn't be a 10. I think that was the other distinction. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So Popsequentials was talking about the Hobgoblin tattoos on ASM 238.
Right.
There's a channel out there that was making videos showing people how to do it.
Take them out of that Fantastic Four, the issue there where it's all the whole issue is done sideways.
Yeah.
I've heard of that happening a lot.
Yep. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
Eddie's updating us on Pope Francis. He actually talked at the Easter Mass yesterday and rode through the crowd waving in the Pope mobile, then died in sleep. Actually a cool story. Okay, well, I'm glad he got to do an important last day's work for his role. That's good. Yeah, then you're talking about that. Grading on a curve with metal covers too. Yeah, I've heard about that.
Okay.
I've heard about that. There's also a thing with a lot of metal covers. Am I making this up? I feel like this is the case. I feel like there's a lot of metal covers where it's almost graded a little bit like a double cover too sometimes. If they have like some metal covers have like the regular cover below that metal add-on that they put on.
Right.
It's not always done that way, but I feel like they grade the interior cover, which obviously is going to be really well protected with that metal over it most of the time. Maybe I'm making that up. I feel like
I thought it was interesting talking to Travis. He's doing art on the sketch covers.
Mm-hmm.
They don't grade the cover that you do the artwork on. They grade the cover, the interior cover.
Yeah.
But he actually had one where they graded the cover that the art was done on.
Yeah. Well, and double covers, I think double covers, it's the highest cover of the two is the one they grade.
Great. Yeah.
Which is interesting too. It was kind of little points. And I mean,
any more double or triple or quadruple, whatever the highest graded cover is, you'll get that grade.
Yeah. Eddie, have a great night. Thanks for coming into the show. Appreciate it very much. Eddie sent you a reply on Instagram, it sounds like. Later printings of 238 were not made with tattoos. Okay, and Popsequentials backs that up. I hadn't heard that before. That's a good piece of information.
Interesting.
Hydra Asylum, our producer Jay, for those that don't know, it runs a channel called Hydra Asylum Comics with his co-host. Definitely go check them out. Have a great night. Yeah, absolutely. Also true of Mark Chiller's variants or inserts. Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. Hydra.
Well, I think we've kind of covered the topic that we set out to cover here.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I feel like it's kind of one of those things where it's like
there's a lot of nuance to it for sure. But
Comic Shop says so is the ultimate argument here that high grade isn't always set in stone, but rather it's relative to how many total copies exist. And more or less, it's the last part that I don't think is necessarily on point. It's not necessarily how many total copies exist, but it's never set in stone with a bunch of other factors taken into place. Is kind of how I would put it. And total number of existing copies can be one of those factors too.
Right.
And then I just shout out to his other commenters where he once saw a 5.0 Fantastic Four number 50 and I vomited for 5 minutes. And then did you go buy a $5 footlong after that?
Yeah.
And then another comment, Eddie probably took off already, but he got lucky and his dad gave him an Iron Man number 1 in the 70s for like $10. Read it many times, sent it to get graded, and it came back a 6.5.
Nice.
Congratulations. That's awesome. That's very similar to my story about a much less valuable book, but my G.I. Joe number 1 that I read tons and tons of times and it still got a 9.8, or I'm sorry, a 9.6, I should say a 9.6.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you appreciating the conversation. Yeah, I probably should move on to a couple news points, and of course we have our community art we'll talk about here in a second.
I wanted to say, you said something about Hydra Asylum. We were supposed to give Jay a little Plug.
Well, we'll do that when we do our plugs at the end of the show, right?
All right, we'll do that.
All right. I have not forgotten that. But since we are going to talk about news, it's time for we look so good in that photo, man. Like we just, really brought our A game.
This is suit. The suit makes the man.
I mean, we look damn good in those suits, man. Production value has gone up literally 0% since I've applied 0.
Negative 20%.
That's it. Let me pull up some of my notes here for news articles. We actually will have a ticker here pretty soon to talk about spoilers for Daredevil Born Again, which is later on. Don't worry if you're worried about spoilers. We'll talk about that later on.
Don't worry.
Yeah. So let's see what kind of news we got. Well, this is news for me. I thought this was cool.
For me,
I don't know if anybody else is.
This was news to me. I love it.
So, I've talked about these books. I've read this series. It's called the Empyrean series. You might hear it referred to a lot as Fourth Wing being the first book, kind of like a Game of Thrones. Gets talked about, even though it's a Song of Ice and Fire. So I actually was in touch with Rebecca Yarros, the author, because I saw her post about a graphic novel series coming for these, and I was very curious about it. So I was in touch with her marketing manager. I think basically her publicist. I think that's fair to say. I think that's code for that. And gonna get more information about this, but she was nice enough to share the official press release hosted over here on Penguin Random House Comics. So 10-Speed Graphic is going to be putting this out in the US. It's an imprint of Little Brown Book Group. And I know that the author just finished the script. So the author themselves, she's writing the script for the comic books for the graphic novel series. So why I wanted to talk about this. First of all, I'm a fan of the books. Second of all, I'm going to do everything I can to try to get the creators that are going to get assigned to the comic book, which haven't been announced yet. Potentially the author. I really want to try to interview any of the people I can. That would be amazing. Or at least, get like a early review copy or something like that. That's my kind of goal here. But I think this could be huge for comic books and graphic novels. These books, if you guys don't know what this is, like these books are viral. There's a whole movement called Book Talk where especially it's a lot of women are reading these kinds of books and talking about them and posting them on social media, and these things go viral literally all the time, like daily. And if they start reading the graphic novels and picking those up, man, that talk about bringing new readers in,
right?
That's a way to bring in new readers. And we've talked about bringing in especially women readers before. Boy, sounds like a home run to me.
They got great design work on the front of those books.
Yeah, and the pages have it's not filigree or whatever, but it has the artwork of the dragons.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's really cool. My wife has the paperbacks, I think, for the first two and the hardcover for the third. But yeah, anyways, really cool. I think it's cool news. So
yeah, that's really neat. So we angling to get them on your show.
Yeah, and I mean, also I think it's just fun. That aspect of having new readers is always something that I'm going to be interested in, especially for a segment that hasn't been reached before.
Yeah.
Which kind of made me think too about people that, if that's a new emerging segment, do you want to try to have titles for them to reach out to? And I was reminded that the Anita Blake books by Laurel K. Hamilton, which is kind of a paranormal romance series, and I think the Patricia Briggs, Mercy Thompson novels, I think those were both adapted into comic books as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, just if people are looking for extra recommendations when that comes out, those are a couple to keep in your back pocket.
Yeah, that's cool though. I really like the design aspect of that for sure.
I like I said earlier, I'm not up on any of the Star Wars Celebration news or any of the Superman news that came out for Superman Day. I had a very busy weekend, no excuse. But I what else is out there news? What folks? What are you interested in that you want us to talk about for the news? Because I'm kind of scanning, and I have been a little bit as I've been talking, which has been tough. I talk too much. But what's out there that you guys are? Did you catch any news stories this week, Brian?
Who did I see? I saw. Let me think on it for a minute. Put me on the spot.
Well, I got one more while you're thinking. Keep thinking about it.
I saw some rumored Sydney Sweeney thing. I don't remember what it was.
Did you say Sydney Sweeney? No.
Yeah, I
did. So there's lots of places that have talked about this, but Marvel is bringing back their swimsuit specials.
There we go. Some Adam Hughes goodness there, looks like.
Yeah, and there's probably a Mark's. Nope. Oh, maybe it's in this cover gallery here. Mark Brooks has some old art that he's going to get to use on one of the covers here. This has been around for a few years. Kind of something I've seen posted dozens of times. The trade dress is newer, but there we go. There we go. Kind of
Spidey and his little Spidey Speedo, huh?
Yeah, like it's kind of an odd pairing. Kind of threw me off for a second. Classic right there. That just reminds me of that trading card from the Fleer Ultra or whatever it was.
Right.
Oh, that's a Dodderman cover too. That's cool. Who did this one? Torn Clark. Okay. And then this is Mark Brooks and then Adam Hughes. So it's kind of interesting. I did not, a comment I saw that I totally agree with is I did not have that on my 2025 bingo card. Marvel bringing back swimsuit specials. There was just a Street Fighter swimsuit special I picked up that came out from, I think Udon published that. But very interesting. I wonder with this kind of stuff, getting Marvel Rivals had anything to do with this?
Maybe, like you said, they've been really cheesecaking up the female characters.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess if it did, wouldn't you put out like an Emma Frost? Psylocke's been pretty popular with that.
Right.
Sue Storm has been pretty popular with that. Squirrel Girl. There's one other character that got really big because of that. No pun intended. But I think that's pretty interesting.
I saw in your news there, it said something about a new trailer for the new Sandman series. I haven't seen that.
Oh yeah, there's a season 2 trailer. I haven't watched it yet. I've been turned off. I did watch the new Fantastic Four trailer. Did you see that?
Yeah, that looked really good.
I guess that's the news, really. That's the story that most people are going to be talking about.
Yeah, I thought it looked quite good. I've been seeing a lot of negative people trying to just pump the negativity, and I'm like, geez, give it a rest. We don't even know. I mean,
it's great. By the way, I'm sure he's not in here because he hasn't commented. Maybe he's lurking. But shout out to our friend Mickey Swagglehouse. He did a great video and then a live stream later that day when he posted the video that I was kind of in the chat for a while on, and we were kind of a little back and forth, but mostly, he had Brian McFly on, a few other people. Shout out to him for his reaction to, like, his sane reaction, which it was basically this take right here, which is, I don't think that universe survives. Right. But yeah, shout out to him for his opinion on that, having some conversations around it. Dude, the world is going nuts about Shala Ball, Jennifer Garner, Silver Surfer. I, basically wanted to puke for 5 minutes to steal Comic Trope's line, reading some of the takes about it, because it just seems so like brain dead and knee jerk to me. Like, it's just so expected, I guess, that it was just kind of like, why can't we have nice things?
Right. Everything has to be the way it was. Can't have any creativity to it. But
well, and like you said, we don't know. Like maybe they're using Shalabal because they've thought of a really cool way to use that to introduce Norrin Rad during Secret Wars.
Or what Jay just said. Wait till they find out Norrin Rad wasn't the only Herald.
Well, yeah, 100%. There's that too.
Yeah, so maybe, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I did just pick up a first Fire Lord, just saying.
Right.
Yes, exactly. And also, you know, Swaggle House made this point too on his stream that I totally agreed with. If you know that you're going to eventually do Norrin Rad and all that kind of stuff, and you're looking at almost like a cast balance perspective, if you have the Fantastic Four, if you have, you know, which obviously by my math, one of them is a woman, and you have Silver Surfer, who is male. You have Galactus, who's male. If you know, it's a very male cast. So if you have a chance to bring in some balance to that cast, why not? If you can use it to tell a story down the road. The other thing is, who says that Norrin Rad isn't in the movie?
Right.
We don't even know that yet.
We don't know.
I'm not saying he will be.
We don't know. That's what I'm saying. We don't know.
She could be in the first 2/3 of the movie, and then the final third could be the Fantastic Four. Maybe the battle sends them to I think they call it the 616 universe in the MCU, which is confusing to me. I think everybody else calls it the 19999 universe or whatever. I've never figured that out. And the battle could be taking place there, and the Norrin Rad could show up. We don't know. It could be a million different things. Right. And this is the other thing, is I've seen people complaining about the CGI. And this one is one of the more surprising ones to me. And I'm not saying Figure Drawing is complaining about the CGI, by the way. But no. people are posting Blu-ray screen caps of the Silver Surfer from the Rise of the Silver Surfer film, the Fox Studio film, and posting it with a blurry screen cap from the YouTube video that's heavily compressed of Shalabal, right, and then trying to compare those two things 1-to-1. It's like, well, that's disingenuous, first of all. Second of all, most of her shots, she's not in the daylight. She's in a dark setting, so it's going to be different lighting on her completely. Right. It's not as much of a close-up. There's a lot of different things there. And then the other thing that I had to explain to some people too is Marvel isn't usually done with their CGI. Even what you see in the trailers, they're usually still rendering CGI shots the week the movie comes out. Right. Or the series, because we've seen series improve CGI that was in the trailers. We've seen movies do that for Marvel movies. And unfortunately, this is a problem in and of itself. They highly overwork their CGI artists. It's pretty brutal from what I understand, knowing some people that are kind of in the industry. I was in the video game industry, which has some similarities there. It's pretty brutal. Inconceivable. I'm beginning to think you do not know what that word is.
The other thing I saw somebody reacting to an interview with the gal who's playing Sue and the guy who's playing Johnny, and they were just freaking out because they were saying they wanted to bring a little bit of a modernized take to the characters. She's like, if I played Sue like she was in the original Silver Age book, she's just a doormat. She doesn't. There's nothing to Sue back then. And she's like, I wanted to bring something to that character. And people are like, oh, it's gonna be all woke, it's gonna be terrible, you know. It's like
well, and you know, kind of, Steve, I'm not picking on you because in a vacuum, you're right here. Disney has had some bad luck recently making money off their content. Right. You're right. Well, I'm going to use your comment to play out. I'm not picking on you, Steve. There's almost like this thing now where if a trailer comes out for an MCU film, I think the one exception was Deadpool and Wolverine, where there's this whole group of people that have to like come out and poop all over it. Like, doesn't matter what it is. And I would almost love to see Marvel make a movie that's like impossible for them to use their arguments on that they usually use. Oh wait, they did it. It's called Deadpool and Wolverine because it's you know, look, I hate to say it, but it's two white males that are established movie characters from the classic thing they like that are 99% of the cast, right? That are the main show there. And there, even then, there was complaining about it being Cassandra Nova in the Professor Xavier style role, even though it's not a Professor Xavier role. It's a villain. You know, we've seen the movie now. It's a villain for the
Right.
Void. Yeah.
Right.
Void. It's a different name for it. Why am I blanking on it right now?
The Void.
Is it the Void?
TVA. She was in the Void.
Okay.
The TVA. Yeah.
I'm conflating it with another thing that's coming out soon. Yes. And this is the thing.
I mean, I'm excited about the Thunderbolts movie, and I've seen people poo-pooing on the Thunderbolts movie already.
Oh my gosh, I would put money on it that the Thunderbolts is going to be a surprise hit. And I'm back in it. I can say that a little more confidently because there's some stuff that came out about like test screenings being kind of like off the charts, basically. Yeah. And you know, we'll see. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't.
Yeah, it's so amazing to me about how many people just want to jump on that negativity bandwagon because that's what gets hits. That's what gets clicks. You know, people.
Well, and not only that, it's like, oh, you got to make fun of Nickelback because somebody mentioned Nickelback. It's become like this thing where it's like a cultural touchstone to make fun of stuff, regardless of like whether it's good or not. To the point where like, oh, Taco Bell gives you diarrhea. Really? Then why do so many people keep eating it?
Right.
You know, like that kind of. There's like these memes I see, and I'm using meme in kind of the original sense of the word, of people like repeating things over and over again because they think like people. That's how people think.
Tropes. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Tropes. Yep. Preconceived notions. Kind of all those things. Anyways, a little bit of a soapbox, but
it's true that the DC hate flipping to Marvel. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and it's funny because it's like, look, I'm just gonna say it. It's the same crowd that complains about people being sheep and not being free thinkers, and it's like, yeah, that's the hive mind that's kind of established itself. Now that said, all that said, the reason why it hits is because there has been some down Marvel movies. Like I can definitely admit that.
No, there have been.
Yeah, there 100% have been. There's also been some good stuff too. You know, I think No Way Home was great. Deadpool and Wolverine was great. Some stuff that people just crap all over, I think, was actually pretty good. I rewatched The Eternals recently. I think it's a solid movie. Like it's
not bad.
Fun,
no, not bad.
Unique.
There are some bad parts in it. But yeah,
yes, and really, some of the bad parts are kind of in retrospect. It's because we didn't do anything with Black Knight. We didn't do anything with Blade. We didn't do anything with Star Fox yet. It's those kinds of things that kind of retroactively make it bad, but it's because people crapped on it when it came out.
Right. Could have turned out a lot better if you wouldn't have crapped all over it.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree. Because I wouldn't have got the budget it got.
Like, I don't know. I've been trying to do, I say spread the love of comics with everyone you meet, and like, so a lot of people that I work with, and they're giving them comics for their kids and stuff. Mm-hmm. And one guy has two tween age daughters. And I was like, I gave him some Ms. Marvel stuff. And I said, they might like the Ms. Marvel show on Disney. And he said they loved it, and that really kind of hooked them into reading some comics. It's like that some shows aren't meant for you.
Well, and that's a good example. Like my daughter loved that show. She cared about that show a lot. She started, that's one of her favorite characters now that she's always interested in. And Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaurs, another one like that, where it's a lot of people didn't track, but it's a good show. Maybe not for somebody without kids because they don't think that way, but at the same time, like that's not who it's made for.
Right. There's certain, I mean, they're being smart that way and trying to expand. Like we're just saying, we're trying to get more female readership into the market. Like that's what they're trying to do. But people just crapping all over everything.
It's one of those things where, like, we talked about when we started this show, we talked about kind of putting a positive spin, or at least trying to staunch some of the negativity that we see in the space. And I think it's because, some of it's outlook stuff. I think we want to see things in a more positive light. We want to be entertained. I still remember watching terrible superhero movies that were really terrible.
Right. But it was all we had.
It was all we had. And do I want even better superhero movies? Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
But these are still way better than the ones I was watching when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like some good things are still going to come out of it. I think we're building towards something. Like, I'm excited to see the Russo brothers do some Secret Wars stuff. I've loved everything the Russo brothers have done within the Marvel pantheon. So I'm excited for that. But I don't want to beat a dead horse either. We should probably show some community art, huh?
Yeah, we should do that.
I think we should. I probably could have made this even more of a cool transition if I'd been ready with something, but doesn't always work out that way. Let me open a window here.
We like community art.
Yeah, human air is our favorite air. But so we're gonna show off some community art, right?
Yeah.
My heart, I'll set it free. My creation here for all to see.
You kept talking. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off with the new intro there. By the way, that one's courtesy of Bigby McFly, that comic book guy. And this art is community art that comes to us from CJ Design. This is kind of a cocktail bar kind of inspired scene that he was imagining, cover style that he wanted to do.
Yeah, there's a little spy thriller there going on. We got some guns in hand.
Yeah, I'm thinking very much James Bond. I was gonna say James Gong. Very much like a James Bond inspired kind of thing here. Very cool. I imagine that martini is shaken, not stirred. Which that's cool.
That's very nice.
I like the lights a lot.
The lighting is really great. Yeah, he did
the lighting, too.
Lighting.
Yeah.
Light and shadow, really nice. Good job.
It sells the retro kind of time period. Very cool. Good job, CJ.
Very cool. I didn't get a lot of submissions this week, so as it said in the intro, send us your art.
Please do. We'd love to see it. This one, I showed this earlier, but I wanted to show it again. This is mostly Comics Limited with a little bit of finishing touches, I think, by Bigby McFly. That's yours truly. It's a picture I took of it, so you can see a little bit clearer than me just holding it up on the stream, but thought that was really nice. Wanted to shout that out. That's exactly what it looked like. There's a little bit of Big Lebowski DNA in here that I really appreciate. And then we have I mentioned Rich was going to be his comment was going to come back earlier. This is Rich Stankey. Did an awesome job here. We did another sci-fi kind of retro piece. He did an amazing fishbowl style Space Girl cover, or not cover, it could be a cover illustration that we looked at last week.
Yeah,
and here's just kind of his next iteration of that kind of style, a little bit more modern sci-fi, but still very cool.
That was beautiful. Love it. Love the lighting inside the helmet.
Yes, that shows off really well.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
So we love seeing that art. We'd love to see your art. So all you got to do is either tag us, DM us, send it to us on Instagram. If you really run, if you're not on any of those platforms, if you do art, you probably should be on Instagram. I think it's kind of the typical one that most people use. But anyways, if you don't have any of those platforms, you could always send it to me. My email is thebronzeagenerd, all one word, @gmail.com. Send that in and we'll get it on the show.
Or maybe McFly @gmail.com.
Yeah. I'm just trying to make it easy on everybody.
Yep.
If you prefer to send it to Bigby,
whoever you want to send it.
I mean, however you can get a hold of us, absolutely.
If you do tag me, please make sure to tell me. Feel free to use this on your show. So I get a lot of people tagging me with artwork, but I'm not sure if they want me to show their artwork. It's just like a lot of times I feel like people are just like, hey, look at my art.
Eddie, I gotta ask, is Amy a canine or a human being? Hey, you know what? Part of the reason we did this is we wanted people to try it.
Yeah, that we're trying to encourage people to start drawing, and doesn't matter your level of skill. His wife is the one hogging the bed.
Yes, I saw that. I figured, but as lifelong comic geeks, it's easy to forget that we're not kids anymore. So when movies come out geared towards today's kids, we think it sucks because it wasn't necessarily made for us. I do that a lot. Yeah, and not to go back to this topic too much, but there's two things I want to say. Your comment actually kind of reminded me about that, Eddie. I think like my daughter's going to enjoy Fantastic Four more with the female Silver Surfer than she would have with Nora and Rad, probably in this movie, from what I can tell. Again, if that's even true that he's not in it.
She looks like a very strong character in that movie, like in the trailer at least.
Yeah, and I mean she should be. And on top of that, beyond it, this came up on that Swaggle House stream I was talking about, and I think it's a really salient point. There's a lot of people, and myself included, I would love to see different films that are more faithful to the source material, as well as what we have with the MCU. The MCU started out on a path where you were never going to have one-to-one stories, characters. You know, it was never going to be a 300 or a Sin City, style adaptation where it's extremely close to the source material. Even those films deviate from the source material. They're two of the best examples of that of all time. And so you're going to have changes. And also, like, Hydra Asylum's comment, it's going to differ. It's going to be different. Like it's going that universe is not long for the multiverse. And I think it's going to end up being a good thing. We're a bit over on time. Do we want to save the Daredevil talk for next week, or do we want?
We can do that. We can save that for next week.
Okay. It gives people more of a chance to watch it. Like at that point, we might not even have to shift it to the end of the show.
If you haven't watched it yet, oh my God, watch it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Let's see. So I guess next we'll probably do some plugs. We want to open up the floor for producer Jay, who's behind the scenes. Also part of Hydra Asylum Comics. We were just talking about Hydra Asylum Comics. It's a channel on YouTube as well. Do you have any content that you did recently, Jay, or anything coming out that you want people to check out?
Sure. So the channel Hydra Asylum is my wife and my buddy and I, and we do unboxings, reactions, and even though I haven't done it in a while, we do reviews as well. Recently, we had Superman Day. The experience was missing a show on Friday because they took the night off, so we jumped in along with Ed in the chat here and Mr. Nope, who I hadn't seen tonight. Did a show then, and then that same day we got that behind the scenes footage for Superman that I reacted to. If you hadn't seen it, Bronze, I know you're not watching a whole lot of stuff. Do, because there's parts of that where there were things I thought were CGI that weren't, that I was super excited when I saw it wasn't CGI.
Nice.
So that was really cool. And then on Saturdays at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, we do this thing called Hydra Hangout. And basically it's friends that I've made from the experience come onto the show with me, and we talk all things comics, pop culture, whatever's going on. I bring in, some YouTuber, some comic book YouTubers. Like I've had Bearded Comic Bro,
Nice.
Rockin' Robbie Bills.
Yeah.
I've had Kyle on. I've had Fable from One Collection Down. With my fans, because my plan is to bring that together. I want my chat to interact with people that they also watch.
Mm-hmm.
and I have some friends in the comic industry, the indies that they come on, and at the same token, you know, if the people in my chat want to come on and talk to these folks, that's what I want to have happen. Like, we're not a big channel by any means. We're like 607 subs, but it's one of those things where I don't want to say it's toxic positivity, but I try to stay as positive as I can because there's so many negative things out there.
Right.
So, you know, you're not going to catch me hating on stuff. If something's not for me, I'll say it's not for me.
Yeah.
But, you know, like Superman, I'm a Superman mark. There's nothing Superman that I don't like. I'm a DCEU fan. I was a Henry Cavill fan, but more importantly, I am a Superman fan. You know, Henry wasn't the first one to play him. David won't be the last, but I'm a Superman fan, and getting a Superman movie is awesome. Fantastic Four, you know, I wasn't the biggest comic book fan of Fantastic Four. Thank you for that. But I enjoy the movies. I watched the cartoon as a kid. I loved the cartoons. You know, it's one of those things where I'm like, you know, if we never get big because we stay positive, that's fine with me, you know. And that's also why I watch Bigby. I might not comment on y'all's videos all the time, but I try to watch you and Bigby as well, because y'all are also part of that positive community, and that's what I really want. I want the comic YouTube space. I want us to be on good terms, not making videos about each other and that aren't positive things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, Hydra Hangout. Feel free to pop on, and if you want to actually come onto the show, let me know, and I'll send you the link. You can pop on, talk to us for a little bit, and that definitely extends to the two of you. I know I don't know exactly what time that is for y'all, and I know that's a Saturday. It's 8 Central, but anytime, that's an open invitation. Anytime y'all want to pop on, just let me know.
Awesome.
I'm sure I'll cross paths with it at some point. There's pretty much. You mentioned like Bearded Comic Bro and Rockin' Robbie and Fable, and like I've all those people I've talked to and know them, and it's like I'll hop into their streams when they're all like, oh, they're on, and I'm free for 15 minutes, and you know, depending on if they're open invite or not, I'm more than happy to swing on. Same for your show, man. 100%. I love the positivity part, and those are all pretty positive people as well. So love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me talk about it. I appreciate it.
Oh, totally.
No, every week we're gonna let you do it.
Yeah. You let us know about what kind of content you're making. I mean, you're helping out with the show. You may not be active on it 24/7, but you are on screen as that is, but you're active on it the entire time we're doing it. So
right.
Definitely.
We appreciate you. We want to make your stuff grow too.
Awesome.
Yeah. Bigby, how about you? Anything coming up that we need to make sure people tune into? Or
well, last week I said I was going to do my subscriber giveaway, and I didn't do it. So it's coming this week, I promise. How dare I? I know I got the book set aside, it's ready to go. I just
I'm not one to talk. I'm terrible
to
at that
get
stuff.
it done. So it's going to be happening this week. So stay tuned for that. If you like The Simpsons, I'm doing a lot of Simpsons shorts right now because I'm trying a little experiment. We'll talk about this later, but I did not realize how many homage covers they did that are really great.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's some really good ones. That I was aware of some of those. I had kind of a blind spot for the Simpsons stuff, but that's some of the stuff I have seen. The Jaws one, yeah.
Yeah, the Jaws one. The Superman Flash race, I've seen like at least 3 different Superman Flash race ones.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows the Simpsons one, like the Fantastic Four homage.
Oh, yeah, issue number 1. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, there's some really good ones. Anything else you needed to plug, or?
That's all I got coming up. And then next week I'm going to be on this show called Best Coast Comics. Yeah.
I heard that show's awesome.
I heard it's great.
Speaking of awesome, I have some awesome viewers. We mentioned at the beginning of the show. I just want to thank everybody again. I recently crossed over the 5,000 subscriber mark. That was something that I saw as a brick wall in my YouTube growth for a long time. I had a pretty steady amount of growth, and then got really close to 5,000. I just kind of kept treading water, to use a Jaws reference there.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm just super appreciative of everybody that either subscribed or shared kind words once they saw that I did. Had people kind of just DMing me and hitting me up. That was really cool to see. I will have content coming out soon. I don't know if I'm gonna have it up for tomorrow, but top 5 not to buy will be either out tomorrow or the day after. New video for that. I have like 3 other videos on my back burner that I'm trying to work out that are more like original videos. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. There's more content coming. I'll be on that same show, Best Coast Comics, next week. It's Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific. It's on Bigby McFly, Bronze Age Nerd, and the EXP channels. It's I hear good things.
Yeah, check it out. I hear good things too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of what we have for this week. We appreciate everybody for being here, everybody for helping out, being part of it. If you want to like this show, if you want to subscribe to all those channels, the links are in the description for the other channels, with the exception of Hydra Asylum. I actually will probably add that. But I did paste that into the live chat, so you can definitely go check that out here. Yeah, until next week, keep reading those comic books, keep collecting comic books, keep spreading your love of comic books, keep not making toxic comments on the internet. Just
Eddie's asking for links to our channels.
Yeah.
He I think he was typing that right when you were talking about how they're in the description.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he's throwing okay there. Makes sense. Yeah, I try to cover everybody in the description. So I know a lot of people don't do that. So it means a lot of people don't look because they're like, oh, nobody ever does that. I actually have so many links in my descriptions for all this stuff that a lot of times, like Facebook, for example, hates it.
Yeah.
Speaking of, what? Also in the description, I'll mention this. If you happen to be in the market for some Gemini products, Gemini Comic Supply does comic book mailers that are infamous as being kind of the industry standard for comic book mailers, or their short and long boxes. A lot of other supplies they have, like dividers, that kind of stuff that go into comic book supplies. I actually have had a long history of being an affiliate with Gemini. They changed their affiliate program, and I wasn't for a while, but I am again. So you can use the code. It's all one word, Bronze10, and there is a link in the description for this if you just want to click the link. You get 10% off. I do get a little bit of that action, as they say, if you want to help me out by being an affiliate. Yeah, I highly recommend using that. And I'm like, their short boxes I use their short boxes exclusively now because I think they're better constructed than the typical short boxes. They have a different folding method that is superior in my opinion. So anyways, that's what I recommend. And I said that even when I wasn't an affiliate.
That's right.
So, all right, guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks for being here, and can't wait to talk about the next topic next week. Have a good night.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.